Hello and welcome to Make More Money with Your Menu. I'm Lisa. Today we have a special guest just for people who run restaurants. We have chef, restaurateur, author, and speaker Ryan Gromfin, also known as the Restaurant Boss, with us. And he is here to show you his tips and tools for creating a menu that delivers both increased sales and happier customers. Ryan's culinary journey started as a teenager when he was obsessed with watching chefs and culinary personnel such as Emeril and the Two Hot Tamales on TV. He attended the culinary program at Johnson & Wales, where he graduated with honors, and then he went on to work in restaurants, five-star hotels, and eventually operated 4 of his own restaurants. Ryan's restaurants were so successful that soon other operators were asking for his help. Today, as the restaurant boss, Ryan is the most followed restaurant coach in the world. His specialty is helping owners, operators, scale and grow their businesses, and he does that through online classes, private training, and his book, Make It Happen, which at the end of the class, he's going to tell you how you can get free. We invited Ryan here to show you how to create the perfect menu with the right mix of products and the right prices. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We are thrilled that you're here. Now, what are you going to show us today?
We're going to be talking a lot about your menu and what an important tool it can be, how underutilized it is in creating more profits and really enhancing the experience at your restaurant. So today's going to be all about your menu.
Awesome. Let me turn the controls over to you.
All right, so like we said, today we're calling this presentation Make More Money with Your Menu, a simple guide to effective menu engineering. And again, I just want to say what an honor and a pleasure it is to be here helping share all of this with you. Again, my name is Ryan Gromfin. I operate a company called The Restaurant Boss. We help restaurant owners scale their restaurants and grow. And one of those tools to help them really grow is the use of the menu. So I wanted to start out with a quote from one of my favorite people to follow online. His name is Seth Godin. He's written some really great marketing books, but I really love this quote. Cooks know that a sharp knife is less likely to cause injury because it goes where you point it. It does what you tell it to do, which means you can focus on what you want the outcome to be. The challenge of a sharp knife is that it puts ever more responsibility on the person who uses it. It will do what you tell it to do, so tell it well. And that's where I want to start with the menu is your menu will do what you tell it to do. Think of it like software. Software is not smart. Software is not dumb. Software just does what we program it to do. Your menu will do the job that we program it to do. If you program your menu to sell your most difficult items that people don't enjoy very often, that make you the least amount of money, that's what your menu is going to sell. So knowing that, today I'm going to teach you some tricks to engineer your menu. It's called menu engineering, but I'm going to teach you some tricks today to engineer your menu so it's a tool designed to help you do what you want it to do, like the sharp knife. Sharp knives are safer because they do what we tell it to do. So when we're looking at our menu as a tool, the first thing I want you to think about is, are you using your menu effectively? Now, it's easy to just say, sure, we're using our menu effectively. We hand it to people, they order off of it, we take it back, and that's it. But your menu is your most valuable, your most important selling tool. If you sold tires at a tire shop, you would have a very clear list of all the tires you sell, just like you do in your restaurant. But are we using it effectively? Is it doing the job we want it to do? When I go to get new tires, it is very clear what tires they want me to buy. Whether it's because they make the most money on them, whether it's because they have a partnership with that company. But when you walk in, you see those tires front and center. You see them on the boards. They talk about them. When they offer tires to me, they give me a good, a better, and a best option. And the tires that I saw when I walked in that are on the wall are always in that best option column. It is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional in what they're wanting me to buy. I feel like sometimes our menu is just something that's put together. It's not done, and that's my question here is it done intentionally? Is every item placed intentionally? Or again, is it haphazard? Are we just throwing things on a menu because we have the ingredients? Throwing things on a menu because someone said you should make this? Or are the items on our menu positioned and placed on the menu in a way that achieves our end goal? The story I like to tell her is a brand that I work with that is very popular. They've been voted for the last couple of years one of the best new emerging brands in the country. In fact, last year they got this Fast Growth Award from the NRA and one of the hottest brands to watch. They sell tacos, but really cool, really fun tacos. A couple of years ago when they put a hamburger on the menu, they started talking about how well the hamburger is going to sell and all these great things they were going to do with the hamburger. And I asked one question. I said, I'm not worried about the hamburger selling well. I said, I'm not worried about the hamburger not selling. I said, I am worried about the hamburger selling. Because if the hamburger sells as well as I think it's going to sell, we could potentially lose part of what makes our brand unique and part of what makes our brand special, which are the tacos. Tacos done in a way that no one else can get tacos. And fortunately, the hamburger hasn't sold as well as we want it to. And that's a great thing. I don't want the hamburger selling well because then they become a hamburger restaurant. That's not what they're known for. So again, is every item placed intentionally? And then lastly, are you using data to drive your decisions? If we're just randomly adding things, taking things off our menu, or we don't really know why we're putting things where they are, we're not using data, and we need to be using data to drive our decisions. So in the next few minutes here today, I'm going to show you how to do all of this. It's a simple 4-step process. If you want to follow this or write it down, but collect the data, analyze the data, design or redesign your menu, and tweak it. That's it. And you just keep going back and forth through this cycle, right? Rinse, repeat. So the first part of collecting the data, we need to know the prices. We need to know the prices that we sell the items on our menu for. We need to know how much they cost us. Now, today is not a food cost training exercise, so I'm not going to get too far into it. But if you don't know the cost of your items, don't freak out. You don't need to go get this crazy expensive software and spend hours or weeks or months or years. Honestly, when I consult with clients that don't know the cost, I can figure out the cost of all their menu items in about 1 to 2 hours, no matter how big their menu is, on a scratch piece of paper with a couple of invoices in front of me. This doesn't have to be perfect. If you can get it perfect, great, but progress is better than perfection. So just do the best you can to get a general idea. Popularity, this is going to be how many of these items do we sell? And then comparing that to other items. I'm going to show you what to do with this data, but popularity, you can get this information from a PMix report. Any POS system, or even if you're using a cash register, you can run a PMix report, a product mix report. And then the next 2 items I'm going to talk to you about in a second here. But first thing I want to do is I want to show you what someone came up with in the 70s or the 80s for engineering menus. I have no idea the history of it. I have no idea who came up with it. But they did some weird names. They had things like stars and dogs and plow horses. And maybe you've seen those, maybe you haven't. But I came up with my own names because I thought those names were weird. So the names I came up with are very simple. It's either a winner or it's a loser. It's solid, as in it's doing a good job, or it's puzzling. It's a challenge. And how we figure that out is by profit and popularity. So we use something like this, which I'm going to make available to you later. I have something called a menu profit analyzer where we enter in the data that we've talked about here already. How many of these items do we sell? What does it sell for? What's our cost to make it? And then it will rank those for you. Now, you can rank them in categories. You can do a profit analyzer for just your appetizers, just your entrees, or you can do your whole menu together. I generally think you're better off doing it by category, but sometimes there is value in doing the whole menu together. But when you're done, you're going to get something that looks like this, something that has these little dots in the different areas. And if we go up to the top right, excuse me, those are high profit, high popularity items. Those are the winners. Those are the items that we love, that we need to bring more attention to, that we need to sell more of, that we need to advertise in our windows and advertise on our TVs and advertise on our social media. And that's what we want people ordering. The winners. The losers are the ones that are low profit, low popularity. We got to get rid of those, or we got to make some serious changes to those. Then we have the solid items, right? Now, those are high popularity. The profit may not be as great as some of the others. But those are what that other guy called the plow horses, what I call, they're just solid. They're just on your menu. They get the job done. They're not necessarily the most exciting, but they're doing their job. And then we have the challenges. And the reason they're a challenge is because they're high profit, but they're not selling. We want to sell more of those. So what do we need to do to sell more of those? Do we need to change the name? Do we need to change something about it to bring more attention to it? We don't have the time to get into exactly how we do all of that today. But once you have this in your different categories, then you can start to do the work on redesigning your menu. Now, before we get to that, though, I want to ask you a question. Would you rather sell an item for a 25% food cost or a 50% food cost? If you're like most people, you're going to say, well, I'd rather sell an item for a 25% food cost. Lower the food cost, higher the profit. Well, now, what if I told you that the 25% food cost item was a hamburger and the 50% food cost item was a steak? That may not make a difference to you until you realize that I sell the hamburger for $10 and the steak for $20. Now, to save you the time of doing the quick math, your $10 hamburger at a 25% food cost costs you $2.50. So you have a profit of $7.50 or a margin of $7.50 on that hamburger. But on the steak, you sell for $20 at a 50% food cost, statistically a terrible food cost. Who would ever run an item on their menu at a 50% food cost? Well, I would, because look at this now. $20 item at a 50% food cost, you make, or it costs you $10, but you make $10. Your margin is $10. Now the question is, which would you rather sell, the hamburger or the steak? So we have to be very careful when we're looking at our data is that we analyze it and understand it. Just because an item sells at a lower food cost doesn't necessarily mean that's a more profitable item for us. So I promised you I was going to get these last 4 items when we're collecting and analyzing. And the 4th item there is reviews and opinions. When you're analyzing your menu and you're going to implement some of the designs that I'm going to show you here in a second, yes, we want to use the menu profit analyzer that I'm also going to share with you how you can get that for free here. But we also need to take a little more information. We need to see what people think about items. What are their reviews? What do they like? What are their opinions? Is that a good item for our brand? Is that a bad item for our brand? Do people love it? Is it bringing people into our restaurant? We may have a dessert that we don't make a lot of money on, but it brings people into the restaurant. We may have a drink on our menu. For example, I have a brand, the same brand I was telling you about earlier, that they get Pappy Van Winkle, which is a very high-end, very hard to get, very expensive bourbon, but they sell it way below market. The reason they sell it below market is because people will drive an hour or an hour and a half to come get a glass of Pappy at a good price, and they'll bring 6 or 7 of their friends, and then they'll buy a dinner, and they'll buy margaritas, and they'll buy other bourbons, and they'll buy dessert, all because of Pappy that we sold at maybe $30 a glass instead of $40 or $45 a glass. So there's more to it than just the straight numbers. And then that gets into kind of our gut reaction, right? What's our operator's gut? What does our gut reaction tell us sometimes of what we should be doing with these different items? So that does have to play in, but notice I put it a little lower down on the list. Now, something you also have to pay attention to here, or as we start looking at design, is knowing the flow. They've done some really interesting studies where they gave people menus and they put like eye tracking cameras on them. And most human beings follow a very well-known pattern now. So I've put the flow up here for you. The 1-panel flow starts at the top and goes down. The 2-panel flow, this is what's weird, starts at the top right and goes to bottom left. We think that we read from left to right, from top to bottom, but our eyes go top right. So you want to have your most popular, your most exciting, the items that you want to sell the most of in that top right area. That's the prime real estate. For a 3-panel design, it's kind of the same thing. And then sometimes we get into higher panel designs where it starts to become more like we're going to look at one panel over and over again. And what I would encourage you to do is do some of your own testing too. As you make designs, I encourage you to create 2 menu designs. Run one for 1 week, run the other for the next week, and see if the data is the same or if data changes. And we're going to talk about that in a second here, so I don't want to get into that too much. But the first thing when you're designing is you have to know the flow. Second thing I want to talk about are descriptions. We got to make our descriptions juicy. I'm going to give you a couple examples here. Some people will use a lot of words. I'm personally not a fan of a lot of words. I try not to use prepositions. Prepositions are anything you could do to a cloud. You could be on a cloud, in a cloud, around a cloud, through a cloud, next to a cloud. I remember that from school, right? Anything you can do to a cloud. Listen, if there's an English major out there and I got that wrong, don't bother correcting me because I'm just not an English major and I don't really care. I think I got that right. But basically, I try to stay away from the fluffy words of, on top, next to, under. I try to get right to the meat of it. But sometimes you need those words. Use as few words as possible. That's what I was kind of saying here. And here's an example. I'm telling you, I've seen it. I go to restaurants all the time. I'm just using meatloaf as an example here. I think we were having meatloaf for dinner the day I put together this presentation. So that's what I thought of. But I have been to plenty restaurants that will just say turkey sandwich. What's on the turkey sandwich? What makes your turkey sandwich awesome? So meatloaf. Okay, great. It's meatloaf. Well, so then they say it's classic meatloaf with onions, mushrooms, and tomato sauce. Okay, fine. But classic meatloaf isn't exciting. Classic meatloaf doesn't get me excited to order it. If I want classic meatloaf, I can go to almost any restaurant and get classic meatloaf. But twice cooked double meatloaf with caramelized onions, wild mushrooms, and roasted tomato, bacon, jam. All right, now we're talking. Now I want to try this. We just took a boring meatloaf and we just made it exciting. This is the meatloaf that we make at home. This is the meatloaf that used to be on a menu at a restaurant that I created a while ago. And now the question is, if I said, hey, do you want to come over for dinner tonight? We're having meatloaf. Most people are probably going to say, I'm good. But if I said, I'm making my famous twice cooked double meatloaf with caramelized onions, wild mushrooms, and roasted tomato, bacon, jam, I think a few of my neighbors are going to want to come over for dinner. So same thing in your restaurant. Now, again, part of this might encourage you to come up with more creative items on your menu, because if you don't have a roasted tomato, bacon, jam, you can't put that on your menu. But descriptions are so, so important here. Another design element we have to look at are photos. Make sure they are great photos. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot stress enough that they have to be great photos. They cannot just be photos that you took willy-nilly with bad lighting and weird shadows and your burger looks all funny on it. They have to be great photos. If you can't get great photos for some reason, use sketches. Use sketches. Now, I used to say I'm not a fan of stock photography, but over the last couple of years, and I know like PosterMyWall offers some amazing stock photography. So I've changing that. I've become more a fan of stock photography. Of course, great photos that you take yourself are going to be better of your food. If you're going to use stock photography, just make sure it matches your food. Sketches are a great option if we can't find stock photographs that match our food and we can't get great photos. But I don't remember if I listed here or not, so I'm just going to talk about it now. If you can't afford, or you think you can't afford great photos, or you don't have a great camera, somewhere in your community is a college that teaches photography, and in that college class are going to be students who need real world experience, either as a project for school or they just want to be able to put things on their resume and get their word out. Go talk to the university, go talk to the college. I have brought college kids in to do videos, to do graphics work, to do photos, traded them with gift cards, and put their name and let them use the experience of taking the pictures for me. And they will go out of this world to make sure that they're great. So you can't sit here and tell me that you can't afford great photos, and you can't say that you don't have the time to do this, because you can find people to do it. But when we're looking at menus, I'm going to give you an example here. Too many is often just too many. If you have a picture of every item on your menu, well then which one's special? The whole point of this is to not sell every item on your menu. The whole point of this is to sell the items on your menu that you want people to buy, to sell the items on your menu that make your restaurant look great and make you a lot of money. So putting pictures of everything, sometimes too many is just too many. Here's an example of a sushi menu. I just went online, found a random menu with pictures of almost everything. Well, what looks special there? It all looks fine. So I'm going to order what I want, not what you want me to order. Now, here's a couple menus that I pulled off of PosterMyWall that give you spots to put one great photo. So on this menu here, you may have 5 burgers or 5 sandwiches or whatever, but the one in the picture is the one I want you to order. That's the one. That's the one that defines my restaurant, or defines your restaurant, that tells people how awesome you are, that you make good money on, that your kitchen can make quickly and accurately, and everybody's happy with that. Now, here's an example of sketches, like I was saying. Sometimes taking a picture of a Mai Tai, like at the top right corner, is going to be a little harder. Sketches were great. Nothing about those sketches has pulled me away. If anything, those sketches have made me want to order that more. So I just wanted to give you a couple of examples there that I pulled from PosterMyWall. Another great idea here when it comes to design is attention grabbers. Bolding. Bold the items you want people to buy. Put it in bold font. Change the color. Boxes, arrows, sketches, lines, anything we can do to bring attention to that. Arrows, like I said, icons work really well too. Sometimes we have a popular icon. Sometimes we have a spicy icon. Sometimes we do things like that to bring attention. Just remember, we don't want to box everything. We don't want to bold everything. We don't want an arrow pointing at everything, because then everything, or what is special, becomes the same as everything else. Anything that can get their attention is valuable here. We have to draw attention. Too many is too many, like I said before. So now let's talk about design, something I call design decoys. This is a fun little trick that I love using. Use an expensive item to make a moderate priced item seem less expensive. So the example I have here is, let's say you've got this cowboy burger, and it's a really popular burger on your menu, but people say it's a little expensive, so they don't order it. They order the regular cheeseburger for $14. It doesn't have an onion ring on it. It doesn't have 2 types of cheese. It doesn't have your homemade roasted ancho, chili poblano barbecue sauce. It's just a cheeseburger, and it's fine at $14, but I really want people to buy this $17 burger. So if I put a prime bullseye steak above it for $42, now all of a sudden that $17 burger looks like a really good deal. I have done this. Literally, this is an example off of a menu that I engineered about 10 years ago for a client. I still use this example today because it's one of my most just best examples of what works. And again, in the interest of time, I'm just going to tell the story quickly, but they had this bullseye prime steak on their dinner menu, but not on their lunch menu because they felt it was too expensive. We put it on the lunch menu. We put it right above the burger, the cowboy burger, and the cowboy burger sales went up. And guess what? They sold a few steaks too. So that's another great option here. So to kind of wrap it up, there's a couple of commonly asked questions that I get asked. One is, how many items should I have on my menu? As few as possible is my answer. I can't tell you how many items. In a perfect world, I would open up a restaurant that sells 1 item. That's all I want to do. I just want to make the same thing over and over again and make as much money as I can off of it and have it at 100% success rate where everybody loves it. You could sit here and say that's not a reality, but in many cases it is a reality. We're just choosing not to look at the data. When we look at places like In-N-Out that sells one thing, they sell hamburgers and they sell it one way and that's it. Or they sell it like 2 ways, but that's it. It does work. And then we can look at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A's added a few things to their menu, but how many items should you have on your menu? As few as possible. Without question, the answer is always less is more. If you're interested in the psychology behind this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it here, but there's a great book called The Paradox of Choice. And basically the paradox of choice states that the more options we give people, the less satisfied they are with those options. So what I want you to think about here, and I've got a great video on my YouTube channel, you can look at it. It's called the menu matrix. And it's basically about going wide or going deep on your menu. So here's what I tell people. You can either go wide, which means you sell salads and hamburgers and pizza and steaks and burritos and tacos. But if you go wide, you can't go deep. Or you can go deep. You could sell hamburgers and sell a whole bunch of different hamburgers. But I highly discourage the restaurants that go wide and deep. Lots of different categories of items, lots of choices in those categories. The other question I get is, well, Ryan, if I have the ingredients, why don't I just put it on my menu? Why not list it on my menu if I have the ingredients? It goes back to the paradox of choice. It goes back to people enjoying the items. If you've got 100 options on your menu, burritos, tacos, pizzas, hamburgers, steaks, chicken, you've got all this stuff on your menu, 2 or 3 items are going to sound good to every guest. And when they order what they order, no matter how good it is, there's going to be this feeling inside that they should have ordered something else. Maybe it would have been better. This has been proven over and over and over again. So the number one reason why just because you have it doesn't mean you should put it on your menu is people get less satisfied. But the other reason is, does it help your cause, or is it making things harder? Is it just more to be more? Sure, you may sell a couple of them, but if we look at the ordering of the product, the keeping of the product, the cooking of the product, is it really worth it in the end? So the last thing I want to talk about here is tweaking your menu. Never stop reviewing your menu. Never stop analyzing your menu. Never stop making changes to your menu. Don't make too many changes at once, though. We want to use data. If you make 5 changes to your menu at once, you won't know which change was the one that helped. So what I would rather do is, like I said earlier, is come up with the exact same menu, but put appetizers here on one and put appetizers here on the other. And then after 2 weeks, see which one sells better. Then take the winning menu and bold one item on one menu and bold another item on another menu and see if the bolding made a difference. Try to do this in stages. So don't make too many changes at once. And then release a new menu 4 to 6 times per year. That's on the low side. To be totally honest with you, like I said, I'd be releasing a new menu almost every week, almost every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because I would constantly be changing one thing, one little thing to try to squeeze that rag of as much profit as possible to see what the magic is in our menu. But if you're not going to take my advice of changing your menu nonstop constantly, when I say changing your menu, I don't mean changing the items. I just mean making these little tweaks and learning. You have to do a new print, a price increase, a removal of one item that isn't working for you at least 4, 5, 6 times a year. Too many restaurants that I work with have the same menu for a year, year and a half with no changes to it. And then we get that feeling of, if I'm selling pizza for $14.99, if we wait 2 years, I got to jump from $14.99 to $16.99 in 2 years. But if we're releasing a new menu every 2 months, we could just go up by a quarter every 2 months so our guests don't really feel that. Oh, so anyways, we'll go to it. I showed it here. I wanted to quickly let you guys know what I was offering here today. Like I said earlier, I want you to get that menu analyzer as well as a whole bunch of other free resources that we have available to you. So you can go to, actually, you just click the button on the page there. Whatever page you're on right now watching this, just click the button right there. And that's going to take you to our offer where you can get our book completely free. It's called Make It Happen. We just ask that you pay shipping. It's a book that I wrote a year ago. It's been hugely popular. But when you get that book for free, you also get our full toolkit, which comes with the menu analyzer. It comes with costing tools. It comes with labor costing tools. There's probably, I think, like 60 spreadsheets in there, plus about 30 or 40 other resources that will help you operate your restaurant at the highest levels. Just kind of wrapping up here. This has been an absolute honor every time I get the opportunity to share anything with restaurant owners and operators out there that can help you guys make more money, enjoy more freedom, and just enjoy operating your restaurant a little bit more, maybe scale up, I absolutely love to jump on that. So thank you so much for the opportunity here to share this all with you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I don't think I will ever look at a menu the same way again. Once you know these things, I don't think you can ever unsee them.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the opportunity here.
All right, I hope we can have you back on again.
I'd love to.
To make it super easy for people to take advantage of Ryan's offer, we've included a link in the class description. If you'd like to learn more about Ryan, you can find him online at therestaurantboss.com. For those of you who want to try PosterMyWall's Menu Maker, low-res downloads are free, or you can purchase a premium subscription and unlock unlimited high-res video and image downloads. If you use promo code RestaurantBoss30, you can get 30% off of a premium or premium plus subscription to PosterMyWall. This offer is good until March 27th. Please share this video with your friends and colleagues who work in restaurants. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more PosterMyWall classes and demos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.